What's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
This is Britain's Newsroom, where your voice matters.
It's just astonishing. With expert analysis and honest opinion, we don't just keep you informed.
We bring you unique perspectives you won't see anywhere else.
Can't argue with any of that. When the news happens, it happens here.
On Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 a.m.
Only on GB News.
It's Patrick Christie's Tonight, and here we do things differently.
It's explaining the absolute madness of this, doesn't it?
It's explosive.
I mean, this is very good.
It's lively.
850. Your government sat there short and it did nothing.
It's controversial.
And the Middle East has been in turmoil since before I was born.
It's everything you need to kickstart your evening.
Everyone's had their Weetabix tonight. I love to see it.
That's Patrick Christie's Tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Headliners on GB News 11 p.m. every night. It's got 3 top comedians going through the next day's newspapers so you don't have to read them, which is great.
That's a good point.
He's lying. I mean, maybe he's not lying.
That's Headliners every night from 11 p.m. and 5 a.m. as well on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Hello, it's 11 o'clock, which means it's time for tomorrow's newspapers tonight. Join us over the next hour for a bunch of stories, including: is British social housing a massive scam? Everyone's getting a council house at the British taxpayers' expense, even African royalty. And net zero might literally mean zero electricity as the UK grid heads for blackouts. And Labour have backed down on banning Christian street preachers. Just as well, weren't they going to headline Glastonbury this year? I'm Leo Kearse, and tonight's comedians are Steve N. Allen and Nick Dixon. There they are, ready to go over the news. This is Headliners. First things first, let's see what the papers have in store for us on today's show. The Telegraph leads with retired policeman arrested for thought crime tweet. We're going to get to that in a moment. The Mail on Sunday has commit any crime and you're out. Migrants are going to be warned. The Times leads with Asylum Hotel King becomes a billionaire. The Mirror has Meghan's dad's new life, a world away from hers. The Sun on Sunday has Danny Dyer saying, I was off my nut on EastEnders. I'm off my nut when I watch it. The Star on Sunday has farmers love a roll in the hay. I'm not sure what that's about, but we'll get to it in a moment. So first things first, how are you both doing?
Yeah, all right.
Nice. Nick?
Not really, but I'm a professional, you know what I mean?
Okay.
I'm here.
That's the level of enthusiasm we want for this show.
Yeah.
Let's have a look at this, the front cover of the Sunday Telegraph here, Steve.
Well, just a quick mention of the picture on there. Putin must agree to a truce, no ifs, no buts. But that picture has vibes of awkward conversation, like Macron's and I guess that's all they chat about.
This is Zelensky, Keir Starmer and Macron, and it looks like the most awkward cocktail party in the world.
They also look like the least scary 3 world leaders, you know what I mean? If you're trying to sort of intimidate Putin, and that's the photo you've gone with. It's the most, it looks like a sort of he's been told off at church, doesn't he, Macron? See the way he's got his hands? It looks like a naughty choir. Sorry, go on.
And I'm not sure if it's working either, because apparently Putin was about to announce a massive barrage of missiles that are heading towards Ukraine as revenge for the drone attacks.
But importantly,
Victory Day.
No ifs or buts, just missiles. And they said no ifs or buts, so at least they've agreed on that.
Also, Keir Starmer's threatening to send everything Britain has if Putin doesn't agree to a ceasefire. We've already sent everything we've got. There's nothing else we can send, except maybe we could send Keir Starmer, maybe.
That really would terrify them, wouldn't it?
I'd like to see him on a motorbike.
But also, the main story, which you teed up lovely right at the start, this is one of those kind of stories we love. Retired policeman, doesn't matter that he's a policeman, no one should be arrested for this, arrested for thought crime tweet. If you've recently been the victim of any sort of a burglary and you call up the police and they give you a crime number for insurance purposes and that's it, you'll love this story because he tweeted something and police turned up, had a look through his books.
Yeah. And his personal items, including his dead daughter's, like her belongings and stuff.
And the press clippings of the story about her death.
Yeah.
And said, oh, that's sad. Back off. You read the flipping room.
Yeah.
Which I suppose is what he's trying to do by going through the books. But saying he was a bit Brexity. Again, none of this matters. You don't need to know whether you agree or not with the tweet.
Yeah.
No one should have the police sent round for tweeting something. He was criticising someone who was pro-Palestinian marchers.
Well,
that was the tweet.
We've got a clip of the man right here.
But I do feel people need to know what's going on out there. And if they think that they're quite safe and they can just sit at home and maybe just knock out a little tweet that, you know, they think is a bit edgy or whatever, you know, just be aware of the climate out there at the moment. And, you know, it could be a knock on your door. And the officers that basically went through everything in my house.
Now, Nick, it's interesting because he's warning people, you know, just think about what you tweet. But that's obviously what the state wants us to do when it randomly arrests people who've tweeted things.
Yeah, I suppose he's trying to protect people, saying, look, it can happen to former police officers, it can happen to anyone. Obviously, it happened to Alison Pearson. And I've looked at the tweet. It seems like a sort of fair, relatively mild, satirical tweet. Seems to be sort of about the dangers of creeping anti-Semitism, as far as I could see. So, it's, you know, it shouldn't be. But, of course, that is interesting in itself because the regime sort of picks sides quite crudely, and it must have sort of quite crudely decided enemy in his case. Whereas perhaps if he was on the pro-Palestine side, this wouldn't have happened. One might speculate.
Well, we've seen pro-Palestine marchers shouting things like, "We're going to hunt the Jews. We're going to rape the Jews, rape their daughters," things like that. We've seen Islamist preachers being allowed to preach the correct way to stone a woman to death, and the government doesn't arrest them. It's very strange that, you know, a policeman, a retired policeman, who's obviously an upstanding pillar of the community. I'm not worried about him. I don't think he's going to be committing any terrorist atrocities or destabilising the nation. The state, the establishment goes after him.
Yeah, well, you're going to force me to say anarcho-tyranny again, and this is what happens. Criminals, we see all sorts of cases where they're let off lightly, they get released from jail and kill someone, etc., and yet the innocent, respected journalists, former police people, these are the people investigating because they're an easy mark. And it's this bizarre politicised policing. You would think they'd stop. Steve's talked about reading the room. It's funny they can't stop, isn't it? They're so ideological.
Yeah.
They can't stop in their mission. You think they just see, oh, this is incredibly unpopular every time we do it. It's obviously disgusting, but they can't stop because this is their ideology.
And do you think it will work in sort of making people afraid to tweet or say anything dissenting against the government, or do you think it's actually going to, you know, light a fire under those people and make them more likely to say it?
Yeah, I think you're presuming people have a moment of thinking, oh, maybe this will be a tweet that upsets the police. I don't think he had that thought.
Yeah.
Because the tweet itself was just, someone else said they're on the march and he said, I can't remember the exact phrasing, but it's something like, next year we're going to Heathrow and...
One step away from storming Heathrow.
Yeah, and spotting the Jewish arrivals. No one would have thought
which he was referencing a real-life incident that happened in Dagestan. Yeah. So the you know, Islamic mob did go to the airport there and hunt for Jews, and they even looked inside the jet engines, which suggests they don't have the greatest knowledge, the greatest understanding of how aeroplanes work.
Fair enough. But what my point is, I don't think he was there with that tweet going, do you know what, it's going to get me in trouble, but send. And I don't think people think that. It's a retrospective thing.
Yeah.
So I don't think it'll stop people, and it shouldn't stop people. To your point, the way you said, I think he's an upstanding member of the community. I don't think that matters. As a free speech kind of guy, even if he's not an upstanding member of the community, you're allowed to tweet a thing that people don't like.
Yeah.
You don't need to know the content of the tweet. You should agree with people's right to tweet it.
But Leo was talking about in terms of threat to the public space, I think.
Yeah, but I think if the government or if the establishment is going to single out people with this sort of two-tier approach to target, to try and silence
criminals,
and try and suppress. Yeah. Why not try and suppress the people calling for the death of Jews, or calling for or calling for women to be stoned to death?
Can I say one thing to the earlier point? It will, of course, have a chilling effect because look at the Southport situation. Even I was going to say because some of my tweets are a little bit edgy, but even I was going, and I sort of do this with me, it's a full-time job, to quote Michael Caine. But I was there going, should I tweet this? And many people were. post-Southport, because you could get locked up.
Yeah.
No bail, straight to jail while we release... So it will have a chilling effect. Go on.
But remember, this is 2023. This is under a Tory government as well, just before everyone gets carried away with what they think might be the narrative. No, it's all of them.
But it's all under the Uniparty. It's all under the blob, the establishment.
Yeah.
I mean, the idea that anything changed when the Tories were voted out and Labour...
No, you're right. All it changed is Starmer was a bit more efficient, so actually sent him straight to jail.
Train the lawyer.
They're just going to do it faster. There's also this story here about skilled migrants will need degrees if they want a job in Britain. So all those gender studies degrees from the University of Kabul.
Yeah, I don't want to give away the ending because there's a story later about how people with degrees aren't getting jobs. So this is this is setting them up for a fail.
I'm sure they can still work for Deliveroo. So.
I guess, which I'm sure you need at least 2 degrees for now these days. It makes no sense, does it? It's about the skills that are required rather than like, oh, you have to have a degree. But what if the one thing we need is people to work in care homes? Are you therefore saying you have to have at least a master's in English to work? No, you want to be good at the job. I don't see why you jump through that.
They could be reading medieval philosophy to the people they're helping.
Would you wish that on your grandparents, to be surrounded by people who read medieval philosophy?
I admire your optimism that my grandparents are alive.
Well, I do, yeah.
Dead about 40 years. I mean, what do you make of this?
Well, this is obviously a response to getting smashed in the local elections by reform. Suddenly they've come out with a 5-point immigration plan. Part of it is this thing about you'll need degrees unless you're filling an alleged critical sector, like I say alleged because I don't even like that caveat, but if you're filling a critical sector like IT, construction and engineering, then you can go back to the points-based system that Boris had.
But they're the ones who should have degrees. If you're building a building...
True. I know, but yeah, in terms of this, they can have the points-based. Everyone else has to have a degree. And we saw a thing about you'll have to have a certain level of English language, like being able to speak the language, was one they were talking about as well. It's all in response to reform because they're panicking. Obviously, if they can't get immigration down, they're in trouble because the projection from the Home Office was 525,000 a year from 2028. Yeah. This is an insane number. So, and even Farage, I don't know why we're not covering it, but Farage released today his sort of manifesto saying he'll get it to 0% population increase. That could still be a huge number if 480,000 emigrate like they did in 2024. Yeah. I know it's a bit complicated, but basically they're panicking about the numbers and they're panicking about reform, so they've come up with this 5-point plan, basically fairly obvious stuff to get migration down.
But at least they are focusing on the right area, because we spend so much time talking about illegal migration, the numbers won't really change, because the number's so big. Yeah. A small percentage, or you could be talking about some small subset of EU movement of young people, that won't make a difference. It's the main bulk of it, the main employment, the legal migration. So at least they're focusing on the right area now.
Yeah, I mean, and I said last night, if they could fix this, if they could even get it down a decent chunk, they can still win because they've got the trade deal with Trump. You know, they're in power. They can actually be effective if they can do it. The question is, can Labour ideologically and practically get it done? I don't know.
I don't know. I think the economics in the UK and across the West are so fundamentally broken. We've got this pensions overhang that we can't. Our economy is essentially a Ponzi scheme where new people need to come in at the bottom to pay out the pensions at the top, and we've got no new people coming in at the bottom, apart from people coming from Mogadishu who then need to claim benefits. So the Ponzi scheme is broken. Right. So I think things are going to get worse, and whoever comes in, things are going to get worse, and then things will get very bad, and then somebody will come in and fix it, and hopefully we're still alive to see that.
We have pretended that we have a better standard of living than we actually have.
Yeah.
And this is why we don't want to address the actual issue. No one wants to go back to living like the good life.
Yeah, we're just borrowing. We're just borrowing. There's also Badenoch, I'll undo Labour's Brexit betrayal. I'm not sure if she's focusing on the thing that voters really care about.
Ever. Although we shouldn't be mean about her because she gets upset about it. But, I mean, look, OK, remember what the vote was about, though. Brexit was about control, not about, like... We said we wanted our government, our parliament, actually, to be able to make decisions, for example, about whom we have trade deals with whom we have trade deals. And this is one of them. Now, unless you're really giving away some control, this is what you wanted. We were promised, like, the chance of a Norway deal or any of those things. So, actually, we want deals, don't we? We want to have deals with India, with America and the EU.
Yeah, I mean, well, and she's talking about things like youth mobility. It's not youth mobility from France that I'm worried about. It's youth mobility from further away places, very culturally distant places. I mean, it seems almost quaint that 10 years ago people would have voted because they're worried about Polish and Romanian people coming to this country. If I see a Polish person on the streets of London now, I cling to their lapels and I'm like, please, brother, don't leave. Stay, my close brother, my cousin, my culturally similar.
Yeah,
The married one,
yeah,
not the blood
I mean,
version, but yeah.
You're right. And how do you know that wasn't the establishment's whole punishment for Brexit? It's like, oh, you didn't like immigration? Watch what we can do if we're not in the EU. But this is strange because Kemi was criticised, rightly or wrongly, for not ripping up enough EU laws quite recently. Remember, but also this is a letter that warns what she'll do when she gets in. But there's two big ifs in there, isn't there? I mean, one, the Tories getting in, two, her being leader at the time. Yeah. I'd say both highly questionable. It is funny though, we're in a kind of endless purgatory of rejoining and leaving, right? It's like Starmer's like, I've got to realign us with a reset with the EU, and then Kemi's like, well, I'll reset that. It's like, it is kind of like, I'm a bit over it as well.
Yeah. And let's have a look at the Sunday Times as well with more asylum news.
Sure. Oh yeah, Asylum Hotel King becomes a billionaire. So this is Graham.
For him.
Yeah, Graham King, founder of Clear Springs Ready Homes, and he's had a 35% jump in his fortune. That's nice, isn't it? He had a series of government contracts, and of course it's these migrant hotels and all that. And I'm just slightly worried what I can say because he sounds like he's got quite a lot of migrant money that he could sue me with. So I don't really want to say what I think about these people.
There's a lot of money that was taxed from you and given to him to house people that you didn't want to be in the country. And now he can use that money to sue you. The
most sober BBC way I can put it is that it's my view that landlords shouldn't accept these contracts on moral grounds because they're making, in my opinion, the community less safe.
Yeah.
Is that fair?
Yeah, I mean, or other people would say, my personal opinion is he's doing, everything he's doing is technically legal within the law.
From where I'm saying, it's like watching two Neos in The Matrix. You know that bit where he's dodging the bullets? This guy, other people would say that this guy, wow, you move like they do.
It might be fine. I'm just not that familiar with defamation law. But it's just because I get so angry about these things because, you know, John Mappin quite famously refused to take migrants on, you know, and made a stance. But you have to make quite a bold stance where you say, I'm not too worried about money. I'm going to take and how many people are going to do that and take this stance? And people say, well, someone's going to get the contract anyway. So it takes real moral fibre to refuse these contracts.
Well, in some hotel chains, like the Lenny Henry one, I can't remember the name of it, but
Premier Inn.
Yeah, so they've said they're not taking any migrants, any asylum seekers, and they are, you know, slightly more expensive than travel lodges. But I think, you know, if somebody else is paying when I'm doing a gig somewhere, I'm going to ask for a Premier Inn now.
Yeah,
I think it's great when people stand up and do it. And in Ireland, you know, they take a much more robust stance against.
That's a safe way of putting it.
Yeah, and also there's this story here following on from Axel Rudakabana, who allegedly threw boiling water over a prison guard, and Hashim Abedi, who threw boiling oil over a prison guard. They're saying supermax are worst prisoners. I don't know why aren't they supermaxed already? I don't know what supermaxing is.
Well, it's because our system doesn't already work. I mean, we had to release loads of prisoners because they were too full to put space to put people back in prison. Well, that's not fixed it, has it?
Yeah.
It's just moved people around. It's just a quick game of musical chairs is all that happened. So surely we're still back in the same problem. Do we have enough space to supermax people?
They're saying no contact with other inmates and no kettles and things. That's an absolute no-brainer for people like that.
Yeah.
I mean, I just say take whatever Bekele's doing and just copy that.
Yeah.
Because he took his country from just a crime-ridden hellhole to the safest in the world or something like that.
What he does is
admittedly, I got that from him, so...
He crams them all into a jail and they have to sit cross-legged, all fitted together like sardines. So it does look quite unpleasant for them, but great for the people on the outside who aren't getting stabbed anymore.
Yeah.
It's also harder to boil water like that, I imagine.
Yeah.
If you're all sat in a big plane and you're like, oops, upside your head. I imagine that's what they're doing. It's harder to boil a kettle.
That's right. Yeah. That's a good point, Steve. Well, that's it for this section, but coming up, we've got the front cover of the Daily Mail. Commit any crime and you're out, migrants to be warned, and also lots of stories from inside the papers, including reform heading to the court to shut asylum hotels. This is Headliners, only on GB News.
We're proud to be GB News, the People's Channel. And as you know, we always love to hear your views. Now, there's a new way of getting in touch with us at gbnews.com/yoursay. By commenting, you can be part of a live conversation and join our GB News community. You can even talk to me, Bev Turner, or any of the members of the GB News family.
GB News Breakfast. Every day from 6 a.m.
Well, wine. First, it was screw caps. That was very controversial, but we've all accepted them, haven't we? And now it's paper or cardboard bottles instead of glass bottles. Wine connoisseurs will get terribly upset about this, but will we all accept it one day? Probably. What's the sense behind it? Here it is. And it is, actually, There is no glass underneath that. It is cardboard.
Yes, it is.
Extraordinary.
It's called When in Rome, a Pinot Grigio, and it says on the front, I have, and King Charles would love this because he loves all things sustainable, and it says on the front of the bottle, 6 times less carbon dioxide, planet-friendly wine. Oh, there we go, Pinot Grigio. So, does wine in a paper bottle taste as good? Let's test.
Hang on a minute, are you just going to talk about it, or are we going to see the water come out?
Should we see it come out? Well, I was going to introduce
I know, but I
Malcolm
want
as
to
well.
taste first, so I can
OK,
tell
we'll
you what I
taste it
think of
first.
it.
OK, here we go. We'll pour some.
This is Pinot Grigio.
Pinot Grigio, nice colour.
Very nice colour.
Lovely colour. There you
looks
go,
good.
there's one for you.
Oh.
How does it smell?
Well, it's rotten at 8:26 in the morning.
I was going to say, I don't usually drink at 8:26 in the morning, but I will make an exception for
Now,
this.
there's interesting. This is something we will ask Malcolm. It's warm, obviously, because it's been in the office all night.
Yes.
Right? So if you wanted to stick that bottle in an ice bucket...
Yes.
Would it disintegrate? Let's ask him. He's the CEO of Frugal Pack, Malcolm Moore. A very good morning to you. Cheers.
Cheers, Malcolm.
Good morning. Cheers. I'm rather envious. Well, behind me, I've got quite a few bottles, but it's a bit early for me to start drinking wine.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Headliners on GB News 11 p.m. every night. It's got 3 top comedians going through the next day's newspapers so you don't have to read them, which is great.
That's a good point.
He's lying. Maybe he's not lying.
That's Headliners every night from 11 p.m. and 5 a.m. as well on GB News, Britain's news channel.
This is Britain's Newsroom, where your voice matters.
It's just astonishing. With expert analysis and honest opinion, we don't just keep you informed.
We bring you unique perspectives you won't see anywhere else.
Can't argue with any of that. When the news happens, it happens here.
On Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 a.m.
Only on GB News.
Welcome back to Headliners on GB News, and let's go to gbnews.com/yoursay to see what you've been talking about. Lynn Dixon, don't know if it's a relation, says, don't feel edgy on speaking up against the migrants coming over here illegally and taking us all for a ride. Speak loud and proud. OK, we'll try our best, Lynn. And Hugh Jarrett says, if the public can be arrested for thought crime, can our authoritarian government ministers be arrested for non-thought crime, since they seem incapable of thinking of solutions for our problems? Very good, Hugh.
Smart guy. Smart guy. Very good choice of websites he subscribes to.
He subscribes to Nick's website. We've got the Daily Mail back at the front pages.
Yes, serious story, big one that's going to impact many lives, and I suppose it's something that we're always upset about. Nicola's a viper, Posh tells friends. It's the Beckham feud. And all the words on that front page are all the words I know about this story, so we'll move on. I get by without knowing what's happening in their life. Commit any crime and you're out. Migrants to be warned. This is the second part of what we saw on the front page of the Telegraph. Labour coming up with these plans on how to crack down. And, you know, good, as long as this is not a system that's abused, and I know this is I feel like I'm bringing the weak sauce. You want a system where you can't have people going like, you were doing 3 miles an hour over the limit. Yes. But yes, if you seek asylum or you move to a country, I would presume if I moved to a country and I broke its laws, I'd get thrown out. Yeah. So based on that, I don't think it's wrong for me to think the same for these people.
Yeah, and especially we've seen crime stats showing that asylum seekers and people from overseas are overrepresented as perpetrators of crime. Particularly, I think Albanians were something like 20% of Albanians had been arrested.
It was very high.
Insane.
Yeah, it was very high, and it's such a bizarre proposition. You go to another country, you commit crimes, so obviously you're not a net benefit. It's just so, like you say, it's just so obvious. And the idea they were only reported if they got a jail sentence before. Why is that the law? I'm like, you steal a sandwich, you're on a plane that day. In my world, anyway. What's wrong with that?
Sandwich on the plane, because otherwise it isn't expensive.
Yeah, eat the sandwich on the plane. I'm a nice guy.
But you don't get an in-flight meal.
Right, no in-flight meal. You don't even get to keep a sandwich. I mean, liberals here. You don't. I'm always saying, well, I don't want to say it again.
At least the Overton window is shifted enough that you're now arguing over what sandwich he gets while he's being deported.
Steve's already lost. I'm already winning the framing of the argument. I've always said, cut the hand off. How many times do you have to do it? Twice? Is it 6? I'm just saying a gem off for shoplifting. Anyway.
Well, could this, I mean, one stick in the ointment, if that's a saying, could be that if a judge knows that somebody being convicted of a crime is going to mean that they're deported, then the woke judges we've got in the UK are going to say, well, I'm not going to convict you, even though you're guilty, because that would mean you'll be deported. And I want you here because we've got this system of anarcho-tyranny where we need you to keep the British people in a state of perpetual terror.
Tell me more about this anarcho-tyranny thing. I've not heard of it before, and I like your idea, and I'm going to remember Leo said that.
Coined in 1993 by Samuel Francis. Basically, you know what, you're so right, Leo. We've got so many activist judges. They'll probably be like running around stopping them committing crimes. Like, I actually stole the sandwich. They grab it off them. You know what I mean? Stuff like that. Like, actually, you're right. They're on the side of the I don't say evil migrants. That's too strong.
There's a bigger problem.
The criminals on the side.
I think you had to do a bit of like what if work there.
Yeah.
But there's a big. You don't even need the what if. We already have a system where you can be deported if you get a certain level of crime, and we don't have the system where the people are being deported.
Yeah.
Now, under Labour, the number of deportations has increased, but it's still not all of them. You still, what is it, 12,000 people in prison who could be deported. So we have a system, it doesn't work, and what they want to do is include more people in that system. It doesn't work.
But it sounds good when you've just lost the local election.
Yeah.
Steve, let me ask you this, Steve. I know I'm not the host, I'm just changing the format for a second. As a lefty, do you feel uncomfortable with Labour getting tougher on immigration? Is it just never going to suit them? Does it freak you out?
Do you think they're just saying it and they're not actually going to do it?
No, I actually think the newspapers always frame it like that, amid panic over reform. Well, they did say this stuff in their manifesto, or maybe that was during a reform panic, but not the one they're talking about. And as I said earlier, whichever story it was, the idea... No, it was this one, wasn't it? I think I should be held under the same rules. So I don't feel uncomfortable thinking that migrants should be held under the same rules. If I moved to America and committed a crime, I presume I'd be on the first plane back.
Right, but there's a difference between someone who's from the country, and that's the thing that the globalist person struggles with, the idea that there's a difference between you commit a crime in the country, of course you can't be deported, but they think of migrants as just the same. They think in terms of homo economicus, right? We're all just rational actors in moving between economic zones.
Yeah.
So you have to think there's actually a distinction between British people and other people. Anyway.
Let's move on, staying with this subject of crime, to the cover of The Observer, Nick.
So this is The Observer, and it has The Firm, Trump Inc. and the New Age of Corruption. And this is just a picture, so I haven't been handed an actual story, and I couldn't find it online. So I'm going to just do this story from a picture of... It's basically the Trumps looking sad. You've got Ivanka, you've got Eric there, you've got Don Jr., is that Kimberly Guilfoyle there? You've got Thingy hiding, Jared... just sort of hiding behind there. But they're all looking sad. But I don't know what it's about. It's just, presumably it's just about Trump hiring his family and that kind of standard hit piece, right?
Well, yeah, and also there have been some, rumblings of corruption. This is quite a godfatherly-looking picture, but, I mean, the meme coin pump and dump was so Donald Trump and his wife Melania. They released a couple of sort of Bitcoin-style meme coins. So there was Strump and there was Smelania.
Those were good coins.
Neither of them were particularly well named.
But zero,
I made a lot of money off that.
Though. But if anyone goes like, you know what would be a really good investment? That's on you. It's entirely on you if you fell for that.
That's a fair point. Well, let's look inside the papers now. We've got the Telegraph. With reform going to court to shut migrant hotels. Honestly, the lengths you have to go to just to enact the democratic wishes of voters, Steve.
So they are heading to court to shut asylum hotels. The chairman says that they've already got an A-team of lawyers ready, working pro bono, which is something to do with Ban U2. I don't know. Now, is that the right team to have, though? The ones who are like, no win, no fee? I'd probably want a better lawyer. But anyway, I'm not going to argue about the team of lawyers. This doesn't have to be a right versus left issue because, again, in theory, closing migrant hotels was a manifesto pledge of the Labour Party. Yeah. And they are going to court to enact the manifesto pledge of the Labour Party. So there shouldn't need to be a row over it.
Well, I think this is just in Reform's constituencies, in its councils. So councils that have elected Reform councillors who now control that area are pushing to close the asylum hotels in their area. So this could lead to the balkanisation of Britain, Nick, as as these areas get cleared out of migrant hotels, and then the Labour, Lib Dem, Green Party areas and places controlled by Islamist politicians in a few years' time are going to absorb all those places. So we're going to see a really rapid sort of change, a marked shift between British areas and non-British areas.
That's the most positive version, because that's if they win, right? If they win, we'll see the balkanisation of Britain, but they may not win, and people have lost these kind of cases in the past. I hope they can. Even if they can't win, it looks pretty bad for Labour, although probably people already know this is what Labour are up to, but it looks pretty bad to be winning cases against Reform, saying we're sending migrants into those areas and there's nothing you can do. That is an absolute election loser, as it already really is by the migrants even just being there. And as I've said, it's a betrayal to do this. Landlords, if they're accepting these things, they know women are going to get harassed and so on, almost certainly. So it's an immoral thing to accept. And yeah, it's just, I don't know. I've said all my points before on it. But yeah, I hope they can win the legal case and we get that box. But I don't know if they will.
But I mean, it's a core tenet of democracy is you should do what the voters want. And if the voters have voted reform because they don't want asylum hotels, then surely, if democracy is to work, if democracy is to continue and be valid and viable, then that has to happen.
But I'm not to disagree with the detail of what you're saying, but the general point would also say you voted for a Labour government. And so democracy had that government in place, local elections had this council in place. How do you know which one's the better democracy? The one you agree with?
Well, you could counter that by saying that all governments have promised to reduce immigration, for example, and they've ignored
yeah, and I think that's why you can spin this.
But yeah, Leo's talking more about direct democracy. Maybe there should be a direct vote on... We know the result of that would be we don't want migrants appearing in hotels.
And I think, yeah, just for the security of the nation, at some point people are going to get sick of the way the nation's being run. I mean, they already are, but at some point democracy isn't going to be valid anymore and people are going to revolt against it. So if you want the nation to continue in any kind of way, you've got to do what the people want.
Otherwise... I love that you still think we have a valid democracy.
Well, that's it for this section. Coming up, we're going to get back to fun stuff, I promise. We've got the front cover of the Express. What's it got? Oh, new crackdown on immigration laws in the system. And we've got lots of stories from inside the paper, like Britain is going to face months-long blackouts because of net zero. It's all fun stuff in the next section. I promise. This is Headliners. Only...
Hello there, good evening. This is your GB News weather update provided by the Met Office. Hope you've enjoyed all the sunshine that we've had around today, and it will be staying fairly fine and settled for most of us this evening and into the overnight period. We do, though, just have to watch out for some showers that are going to start drifting their way in from the southwest, so primarily for the Channel Islands, but increasingly spreading into parts of the West Country later on in the night as well. One or two of those could be on the heavy side. Dry for everywhere else, though, and it is going to be a mild night, certainly frost-free, but temperatures around 8, maybe 12 degrees Celsius as we kick off Sunday morning. We do have another area of rain just slowly pushing its way into the far northwest of Scotland as well. As we start off today, the bulk of it is still out towards the sea, but we'll eventually see some showers and outbreaks spreading into the Outer Hebrides, parts of the Highlands as well. Generally dry, though, for the rest of Scotland, Northern England and into Northern Ireland as well. For Northern Ireland, though, there will be some showers cropping up later on in the day, as this area of showers across the southwest will also continue its journey northward, so gradually spreading into southern areas of Wales into the afternoon as well. Certainly rain is needed after a very dry spring so far, but these showers are going to be quite short and sharp and will provide some torrential downpours in places with the potential for some thunderstorms, maybe even some lightning and hail, so some localised impacts are possible. Further towards the east, though, it's going to be a very warm day for the time of year, highs of 24 to 26 degrees Celsius. Our showers in the south are all driven by this area of low pressure that is very slowly continuing its journey in towards the UK, and that will still be lingering into Monday as well. So further outbreaks of rain for Northern Ireland, and then we'll see further showers spreading in from the south across Wales. But we wouldn't take the graphics here too literally. There are still uncertainties on the exact spread of these showers as we head throughout Monday, but certainly potential for further downpours are possible. But things will settle up quite nicely as we head throughout the rest of next week with sunshine and warm temperatures continuing.
Westminster, the ultimate clique. And you're fighting like rats in a sack. But here on the Camilla Tominey Show, we ask the questions the establishment media is too scared to ask. OK, let me ask you a straight question, because I know you're a straight-talking politician. Whether it's net zero, illegal immigration or law and order, nothing is off limits. You had the power then.
Yeah, as I
and
say,
now you've lost it. That's the Camilla Tominey Show, a politics show that's fearless. But no, let me finish my question if you don't mind, because it is my show. Sundays at 9:30, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
What is the state of our economy? What is the state of our National Health Service? What is the state of our schools?
What on earth is going on?
Understanding Britain means understanding the state we are in. This is State of the Nation with me, Matt Goodwin, Wednesdays, Thursdays and Fridays from 8 p.m. on GB News.
Welcome back to Headliners, and let's go to gbnews.com/YourSay to see what you've been talking about. Stephen Green says, if with Operation Scatter, Lib Dem and Green areas get swamped with migrants, it sounds win-win for reform voting areas. It does, and that's what we're talking about, the balkanisation of Britain. And Anne-Marie says, love this team, very funny tonight. Thank you very much, Anne-Marie. That's nice to hear.
Nice. And that one that said I attacked pro bono lawyers, but I didn't mention them at all.
No, it was Steve.
No, I did. Yeah,
it was Steve, and I'm getting blamed.
I made a joke about pro bono lawyers. Sue me. Actually, don't. Oh, it's the wrong group to say it to.
Very good, Steve. And let's have a look at the front page of the Sunday Express, Steve.
I mean, they've got new crackdown on immigration lawyers abusing system. I think we've talked about that. Yeah. We've also got this story.
These lawyers as well.
Yeah, I don't want to pick on any more lawyers. I'm being surrounded. Plea to PM from our top stars. Protect us from AI onslaught. A chorus of disapproval. Dua Lipa is upset about this. She's got a flipping cheek as well because she made that app that taught me Spanish. So I don't know what she's going on about.
Very good.
By the way, but she's one of the few celebrities on the front of a paper that I've heard of. Because nowadays, am I getting old? I just look at these people like, who are these people?
Yeah.
I've heard of them.
And then they've got like a trillion followers on Instagram or something.
Yeah,
Never
more
heard
people
of them.
than there are.
And I'm following them, and I don't know who they are.
And there's this story on the cover of The Sun on Sunday. Danny Dyer exclusive. I was off my nut on EastEnders.
I was off me nut on EastEnders on Valium. Yes, Danny was on Valium and diazepam. And what he says is, to be fair, and I related to this, not so much that part, the off the nut, but he says it's 30 pages to learn a day on the script, and you've got to be organic, as he says, and he's like, so it's very stressful. And we have to learn so many stories in a short time. I totally get it, Danny. And that's why I'm on so much diazepam. But, like, I can understand that. You've got to ingest it to the point where, as in the script and the drugs, to the point where you know it off by heart to where you can riff. This is tough stuff. Imagine if he was doing Hamlet. It'd be over. He'd be on heroin. But EastEnders, 30 pages a day. That's tough.
But, I mean, with diazepam and Valium, are they I don't think of them as drugs you take to improve your mental acuity.
They're to calm you down.
Oh, right.
I know, because the hospital took pity on me once, but
it wouldn't make it harder to learn the lines, I think, is the thing. I think I'd
it
learn
would make
more
you
lines.
care less about whether you remember them or your job.
You want the one that they have in America for kids with ADHD? The
Ritalin.
Adderall.
Adderall, I'd take all of those.
Yeah, anything like that. Yeah. Anything like that.
Danny, if you're listening, take those.
We don't need to see Danny Dyer on Adderall. They'll turn it. Be like that Jason Statham movie, Crank or whatever it's called.
Great fun.
OK, and let's look at some stories from inside the newspapers. We've got the Telegraph now, and Ed Miliband promised us green energy, but we're getting blackouts instead, Nick.
Yeah, Britain could face months-long blackouts because of net zero. So we've seen this happen in Spain and Portugal, and you think, oh, well, that's Spain, probably having a siesta or whatever. But it could actually happen here in our country, even though we've had this incredible grid, one of the best grids. Many people are saying it's a tremendous grid, 75-year history, never a complete grid shutdown. But we could have it because of Red Ed Miliband, Steve. And I'm trying to make this story fun because it's quite dry. So, because if we actually did have this, people, if they don't have a backup generator, obviously it's going to be massive disruption. But as they point out here, the loss of life. So potentially, you'd be responsible, if you're the person pushing net zero crazy policies, you'd be responsible for people dying, potentially. The only good thing about a terrible blackout would be it would end net zero, hopefully, as a political issue. It would be completely dead because people see this is what can happen.
I mean, I really see net zero as sort of dying as a political force because there are other issues that people are much more worried about now.
You're agreeing with Tony Blair again. That's so you, isn't it? Yeah. They just need balanced science GCSE from 1997 because then we learn that if you're doing more renewable stuff, you need to have an ability to have something that can step up to throw it in there when you suddenly need more power. So you need a nuclear one. If they're not that fast, you need a gas one. But what we've got is a stupid system, is all of our electricity is linked to the gas price anyway, which is ridiculous. And the other day, I was thinking, why? Because we've got like the most expensive electricity out of loads of countries. Why? And then it dawns on me, the government get a slice of the tax and VAT or duty or whatever on there. So I suppose they don't want us to have cheaper electricity.
No way.
They'd have to tax us more in other areas.
Yeah.
So I think we're not going to end up with cheaper electricity. The whole promise at Balanced Science GCSE was that the renewables should be cheaper, and I expected cheaper electricity.
Yeah. Can I just say I did a science GCSE and I didn't know any of that. And I got 2 A's. Go on.
Yeah, I mean, fuel should be, with the technology we've got, fuel should be so cheap. We've got gas and oil under our feet in the UK. We should be fracking. And yeah, I mean, I don't know. I see energy barons, green energy barons like Dale Vince, donating millions to Labour, to Just Stop Oil or whatever, and I'm like, there's a return on that money. You know what I mean? There's no such thing as a free lunch unless you come here in a little boat. Anyway, we've got the Daily Mail now with a teenage girl footballer banned by the FA for asking a bearded man if he's a man. Turns out FA stands for Forget Anatomy, Nick.
Nice. You've done your work there. It's teenage girl footballer banned for asking transgender opponent, are you a man, demands FA apology. And why not? This is Keris Vaughan, then 17, now 18, sanctioned by a disciplinary panel for improper conduct. And this happened in Lancashire, of all places, where half my family are from. Lancashire, how far you've fallen. But, I mean, I guess, we're coming back now because we're sorting it. But, yeah, she should have an apology. It's absolutely insane. She innocently said, are you a man, because the person had a beard. Didn't mean to cause offence. It's an obvious question, isn't it? And that she was treated so horribly because our establishment got completely carried away with this cult. And now they owe apologies. The problem is, for people who had life-changing surgeries, an apology is no good. But certainly this person should get an apology at least, and maybe some sort of compensation.
Yeah, and this shows that trans rights, we're seeing leftists protest saying, oh, trans rights are just human rights. But there's no human right for, like, grown men to go onto a girls' football team and bully women out of the sport.
And at least shave your beard if you're going to do it.
Yeah, make an effort.
And it's about the fact that asking a question where the answer from that person can be no, and that's not illegal, but the question should be allowed to exist without, oh, you've asked a question, I didn't like your question, I need to punish you so much, you don't get to play sport, you get a pile on online or whatever. And in the story it says that she's on the autism pathway to be tested for autism, which is where I should be, according to my wife, during rows. So I understand the idea that you might accidentally say something that causes offence. You know, in the old days, that just used to cause a bit of offence.
Yeah.
But now, apparently, it was such a crime that it nearly got 6 game suspension for...
Yeah, shocking. And so often autistic people, or people, as you say, sort of on the pathway, are punished because they don't know the ever-shifting nuances of woke speech codes. They do a thing that used to be called telling the truth. And this is why they're great. They just tell the truth. Oh, are you a bloke? You know... But that's so offensive now. It's just an honest question.
Well, yeah, this is the whole trans thing is a polite fiction. Like, we'll refer to you as a woman because we're being polite and you want to be referred to as a woman, but you're clearly a bloke with a beard. So, if we're going to get back to fact-based, reality-based attitudes.
But you could say... a nicer way, or, you know, more me way, would be saying, you know, if there is a polite fiction being maintained, you can be polite back and not want to cancel someone for asking an innocent question. Even if the question wasn't that innocent, it was a question.
There's no concession for the autistic person or the potential autistic person.
Not during
rows. Yeah. We've got the Times now, and apparently Britain has so much spare housing, we're giving council houses to African presidents' wives, Nick.
Yep, Sierra Leone's First Lady rents a council flat in South London. I can't believe that I just read that out as a real story, and this is such a 2025 moment. So it's Fatima Jabe Bayo, who's a former actress, left London in 2018 when her husband, Julius Maada Bayo, became president. So that helps, doesn't it? Because now she has a helipad, swimming pool, tennis courts in this mansion in Freetown in Sierra Leone. But she also has a 2-bedroom council flat in Southwark. And it's been there since, like, 2007, just allowed to stay there. Apparently pops up occasionally for social outings in London. I mean...
Checks the post.
Yeah, checks the post. I couldn't make this up. This is if there was a PSYOP designed to radicalise British people entitled the Sierra Leone PSYOP, like, it wouldn't surprise me, because we're quite mild people, but they're doing everything they can to push us to maximum rate. Oh, let's just stick some migrants in a hotel, but yeah, we do the winter fuel payments so we can't give our own people money, yeah. Oh, and the leader of Sierra Leone has a council flat. Yeah, it's like a bad sitcom
I don't even think that this is the worst one. There was a high-ranking official in Hamas who had a council house in
North
Barnet.
London, though, so that's the difference.
Yeah,
yeah.
And under Sadiq Khan's jurisdiction.
I think it's nice that there's a leader that's still in touch with their working-class roots. How humble to still have a council flat.
A couple of things, by the way, as well. The spokesman for the council says social housing tenants have a right to stay in their homes regardless of income. Yeah, we noticed. She's got a helipad. We noticed. And also, she in the past has said that has complained about Western interference in African affairs. How about this? We won't interfere in your affairs if you don't interfere in our council houses by owning one.
I think the entire social housing system, the entire welfare system is a giant scam. Just it's all being milked. Everybody I know, I mean, obviously I'm Scottish, so I know a few people on benefits, but everybody I know in social housing is fiddling the system in some way, is working the system. Also, last year I was going to buy an ex-council house. I ended up not buying it. But the guy, I was like, how did this guy get the right to buy a council house? Because he's got.
He owns Sierra Leone.
He's from Oman, and because obviously, you know, apparently if you're from anywhere but Britain, you're just automatically get council houses. But he put one of his wives in. So she, because she didn't have income, she got in the council housing list, got this house, and then she put it in his name so he could then sell it on. So the whole place, I ended up not buying it because it turned out by paying tax, I've already paid for that house.
Yes.
Do you know, when you hear stories of the level of work that people have to put in to defraud the system, you think it would be less effort to get a job.
Yeah.
It would be easier to just do that.
I think there's more fun in defrauding the British taxpayer, Steve. Anyway, that's that for that section. Coming up, we've got the front page of the Mirror, which is going to be a fun one. That's about Meghan's dad, his new life. I think he's transitioned. No, he hasn't. And we've also got stories from inside the paper, like the Labour-run council that's U-turned on the Christian street preacher ban. That's coming up in a minute. This is Headliners, only on GB News.
You're looking happy.
Well, the forecast looks good.
So you've sorted the travel insurance then?
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
An unsettled spell across central parts of Europe, the potential to see some quite heavy thunderstorms, but elsewhere it should be mostly dry. Plenty of sunshine, bar the odd shower across parts of Greece, but Croatia, Montenegro, plenty of sunshine here. But as we shift our way further west, some heavy thunderstorms possible, particularly across northwestern parts of Spain, southern parts of France, but elsewhere across Spain and Portugal, Madeira and also Tenerife, largely dry with sunny spells and feeling warm in the sunshine too.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
So he can say whatever he wants.
A straight talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Good Afternoon Britain isn't just about us. The wonderful thing about this programme is it's about everyone watching. It's an interactive programme.
Well, there absolutely is something to see here, and we're going to be talking about it more.
Whether it's breaking royal news, please bring us up to date, or indeed a particularly punchy speech in the House of Commons.
Very, very curious.
We bring it to you live, and then we bring you live reaction as well.
That's Good Afternoon Britain, weekdays from midday.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
It's Patrick Christie's Tonight, and here we do things differently.
It's explaining the absolute madness of this, doesn't it?
It's explosive.
I mean, this is very good.
It's lively.
850. Your government sat there short and it did nothing.
It's controversial.
And the Middle East has been in turmoil since before I was born.
It's everything you need to kickstart your evening.
Everyone's had their Weetabix tonight. I love to see it.
That's Patrick Christie's Tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
Westminster, the ultimate clique. And you're fighting like rats in a sack. But here on the Camilla Tominey Show, we ask the questions the establishment media is too scared to ask. OK, let me ask you a straight question, because I know you're a straight-talking politician. Whether it's net zero, illegal immigration or law and order, nothing is off-limits. You had the power then.
Yeah, as I
and
say,
now you've lost it. That's the Camilla Tominey Show, a politics show that's fearless. But no, let me finish my question if you don't mind, because it is my show. Sundays at 9:30, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Headliners on GB News 11 p.m. every night. It's got 3 top comedians going through the next day's newspapers so you don't have to read them, which is great.
That's a good point.
He's lying. I mean, maybe he's not lying.
That's Headliners every night from 11 p.m. and 5 a.m. as well on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to Headliners, and let's have a look at the front cover of the Daily Mirror, the Sunday Mirror, rather.
Duchess of Sussex exclusive, Meghan's dad, new life, a world away from hers. So really, it's not to do with her at all. It's an exclusive very much that doesn't include her in this story at all. He's rented a £500 a month apartment in the Philippines with a son, which is a shame. He could have gone on for free in the UK. That's what we learned in the last section. And good luck to him. I mean, it feels like they've had a bit of a difficult relationship, but he's doing all right. I mean, he's got a son. This is why I recommend having more than one kid. I can afford to fall out with one of them. And at their ages at the moment, we've not really got into the big discussions, 1 and 3, but it's good to have another one to fall back on, and that's what he's done.
The only thing that I don't get is why there's a picture of Steve Bannon there, just...
Hey, yo. And we've got the Daily Star.
Good one for radio listeners.
Nick.
Daily Star, farmers love a roll in the hay. And this is that 70% of farmers think they are incredible in the sack. It's not something I necessarily want to think about at 5 a.m. when this goes out, or at 11 p.m.
And this is just self-reported.
Self-reporting, that's the problem.
Yeah.
We need it verified. Is that what you're saying, Leo?
Well, we do need BBC Verified to get on this and do their groundwork. But I guess they do get up early in the morning.
Not only that, but you know the thing they do when they're birthing a calf?
Oh, yeah.
I think if you're willing to do that, you're willing to...
I've seen some videos.
Falling.
OK, let's have a look at some stories from inside the newspaper. We've got the Telegraph now with Labour deciding not to ban Christianity. I guess it would be a bad look the same week they're implementing Islamic blasphemy laws in Britain. Steve?
Yeah, Labour-run council U-turns on Christian street preacher ban. This is Rushmore Borough Council has withdrawn its injunction application. The plan was they didn't want anyone doing any of that preaching because it might scare people and being handed a leaflet. Oh, it's a bit much. And this is quite the test of a free speech belief, because I don't want to hear this stuff, but I would fight to the death for their right to hand me a leaflet, or rather to try and hand me a leaflet and me pretend my Bluetooth's in.
You'd actually kill someone?
No, but I'd I'm going to die eventually, and that's the death I'm talking about.
Right.
I've just booked it in for the future. You don't want to if you shut down someone handing out their leaflet, it would ruin the Edinburgh Festival, for example.
Yeah.
One thing is
another bonus.
It's a little sidebar. I've handed out lots of leaflets in Edinburgh, and some people take them and throw them on the floor. And I was walking to a gig, walking through Leicester Square a couple of weeks ago, and there was a table where they were handing out Qurans. And I looked on the floor. Oddly, no one had taken one and dropped one on the floor. I'm not sure what that tells us, but it tells us something.
You're not going to do that. And yeah, I mean, this does seem to be rolling. At least it's rolling back this terrible decision, Nick.
Yeah, but it's, as you say, it's a sort of double-sided blasphemy law, isn't it? There's things creeping in about not disrespecting the Quran. At the same time, you can't silently pray as a Christian, or loudly in this case. I don't think you'll add any volume of prayer from literally in your head to out loud. As you say, it's been overturned, but it feels sort of quasi-illegal to be Christian now in this Christian country, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. Well, especially, I mean, the arrest this week in Manchester of the guy who's arrested for, I believe the charge was insulting Islam. I had to double check it. I thought there surely can't be a law against insulting Islam in the UK. I thought this has to be in, like, Afghanistan. I thought I was reading a Loaded magazine from the 90s when they used to do exposés on what the Taliban were doing. But no, that's Britain now. And it was 2 Muslim police officers as well that did it, which was...
Someone should inform the head of the Church of England, a.k.a. the King of the country.
Except he would be too busy filling bags with dates for the people doing the arresting. Anyway, we've got the Mail on Sunday now with girls in Australia suddenly much better at sports, and nobody can work out why, Nick.
Yes, parents at elite Aussie school outraged after transgender student smashes records at Sports Day. They said, come on, mate, or something. That was terrible. They said, fair dinkum. I don't know what they say. I'm just filling time while I remember what this is about. No, this is a Catholic school, a private Catholic school, where suddenly someone just won all the Sports Day events, a trans person, obviously, and they said...
There's a bloke saying he's a girl.
Yeah, and of course all the parents are outraged. And this is the thing, it's catching up finally with the normies, and then they notice, because you may not be interested in woke, but it is interested in you, and it will affect your life. And they seem to be behind in Australia. As always, by the way, we find that it's elite institutions, it's even Christian schools that are some of the worst on this stuff. And it sounds like Australia needs to update their laws, because they're just saying, well, look, this is the law.
I mean, Steve, some people would say this is the girl's fault for not training hard enough to beat a man.
Well, at least the girl didn't ask, are you a man? So it just goes to show progress.
Yeah.
They're really doing well over in Australia.
Amazing progress, but yeah, maybe it's time to bring back bullying, and, you know, then maybe people won't mess around doing stuff like this. OK, well, the show is nearly over, so let's take another quick look at Sunday's front pages. The Telegraph leads with retired policeman arrested for thought crime tweet. The Mail on Sunday has commit any crime and you're out, migrants to be warned. The Times has Asylum hotel king becomes a billionaire. The Mirror has Meghan's dad's new life, a world away from hers. The Sun on Sunday has Danny Dyer saying, I was off my nut on EastEnders. And the Star on Sunday has farmers love a roll in the hay. And that's it for tonight's show. Thank you to my guests, Lewis and Nick. I'll be back tomorrow at 11 p.m.
It was my worst show ever. Oh, my God.
I read what's in the hot queue. I'll be back tomorrow at 11 p.m. with Simon Evans and Kerry Marks, possibly. Who knows? And if you're watching the 5 a.m. repeat, then stay tuned for breakfast. See you tomorrow. Goodbye.
Expect a warm front, moving from the kitchen right through to the rest of the house. Boxed Boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Hello there, good evening. This is your GB News weather update provided by the Met Office. Hope you've enjoyed all the sunshine that we've had around today, and it will be staying fairly fine and settled for most of us this evening and into the overnight period. We do, though, just have to watch out for some showers that are going to start drifting their way in from the southwest, so primarily for the Channel Islands, but increasingly spreading into parts of the West Country later on in the night as well. 1 or 2 of those could be on the heavy side. Dry for everywhere else, though, and it is going to be a mild night, certainly frost-free, but temperatures around 8, maybe 12 degrees Celsius as we kick off Sunday morning. We do have another area of rain just slowly pushing its way into the far northwest of Scotland as well. As we start off today, the bulk of it is still out towards the sea, but we'll eventually see some showers and outbreaks spreading into the Outer Hebrides, parts of the Highlands as well. Generally dry, though, for the rest of Scotland, Northern England and into Northern Ireland as well. For Northern Ireland, though, there will be some showers cropping up later on in the day, as this area of showers across the southwest will also continue its journey northward, so gradually spreading into